What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. North Korea is warning the United States here and threatening retaliation for the US and South Korean military drills, saying, in quote, it's not empty talk on its nuclear capabilities. Yeah, this came in a commentary published on their state-run Korean Central TV station, which condemned the South Korea and the United States for the joint 11-day Freedom Shield exercises, which they held here back in March. The piece accused the South and the U.S. of being warmongers and going to the extremes, saying, quote, their war hysteria is running up to the climax along with the start of a joint landing drill, the commentary read. Here is what the Pentagon had to say. Take a listen here.
So North Korea reacts to the U.S. ROK's military exercise. So how such kind of security cooperation can work to deter North Korea?
Right. So I think, again, it's important to just kind of take a step back here. And the exercises that the United States conducts with Japan and with South Korea are defensive in nature and meant to bolster our interoperability and meant to deter potential aggression in the region. And so that's first and foremost. And so in terms of North Korea's reactions to these types of exercises, as you heard me say before, not only is it inappropriate, it's destabilizing and concerning, clearly, to those in the region. But I think what's important for people to understand is, one, deterrence continues to work. Despite launching missiles into the ocean, North Korea is not attacking, and nor should they. And that the United States, Japan, South Korea, and other allies and partners in the region will continue to work together to extend that deterrence and to keep our countries safe.
Yeah, so you heard the Department of Defense there. They said North Korea is, what they're doing is inappropriate, concerning, and destabilizing. And remember, they were, when the U.S. is over there, I'm not sure if we're still over there or not, but it's basically, they've been shooting missiles into the ocean over there, and it's only a matter of time until something hits by accident. Imagine if that happens. Yeah, North Korea, Russia, China, and then we got the U.S. actually got attacked in, let me see here, in Syria by Iranian drones. If it's not one thing, it's another. We got a lot to be concerned about here. And then don't forget, we have our whole entire country over here with our economic worries here. It's a nightmare. I mean, we've inflation. There's so much to be concerned about here. I've got a lot to even just report to you guys here on a daily basis. Wow. Listen to this interview I just heard from Congressman Mike Waltz. This kind of sums it up. Take a listen here.
All right, let's bring in Florida Republican Congressman Mike Waltz. He just stepped out of that hearing. Your takeaway so far?
Well, I think it's a very sobering assessment of the threats that we face. Sandra, we've never faced threats like this in our nation's history. China's Navy is larger than ours and modernizing. Their nuclear arsenal is expanding and tripling. They're launching more into space than the rest of the world combined, including us. We see Iran, that's no longer deterred, has attacked us 80 times just in the last 2 years, and we've responded 4. Meanwhile, under President Trump, you saw them actually bomb Russians, and that knocked everything off. That's how deterrence is restored. And of course, North Korea is on the march. And to my surprise today, but I appreciate the candor, General Milley said the southern border is in crisis, and that we have an Army Corps, 35,000 worth of migrants that we don't know who they are, streaming across our border, and that we have to take more aggressive action. So General Milley's about to retire. There's some candor there that I appreciate, and it's certainly a different story on our border than we're hearing from Mayorkas or Garland.
Really interesting moments on all of that. Also on the growing threat that is China and Russia to us here at home. This was General Milley on China teaming up with Russia, making the case that this is going to be difficult for our military to deal with. Listen.
Our military, capability-wise, can fight in a lot of places with different types of contingencies. But if you're talking about a serious conflict with a major great power war, realistically, putting both China and Russia together is a very, very difficult thing.
Get your takeaway from that, and also whether or not there's going to be bipartisan support for the Pentagon budget from lawmakers in Washington, considering this growing threat and our need to ramp up our military might.
Well, Sandra, I mean, these are broader issues. We had the head of our civilian reserve fleet just yesterday testify that it's gone from 400 ships in the first Gulf War to 40 now because we've let our shipyard and shipbuilding industry completely atrophy. We don't even have enough mariners to staff the 40 that we have. So this is about industrial capacity. This is about getting America back to making things again, turning wrenches, bending steel, and bringing our supply chains home from China that were gutted with NAFTA and with allowing them into the World Trade Organization. We have got to bring them back home, and if not here, at least in the Western Hemisphere. And at the same time, and this Republican majority is determined to do this, we have to get our military back to war fighting, focused on winning our nation's war, being a meritocracy and the best of the best, because I guarantee you the Chinese and Russians don't care about how diverse our military is. We just need to have the best in order for them to think again about starting any conflicts. That's how deterrence is restored, and they need to believe we have a commander-in-chief that's willing to use that military if they go on offense.
But still, we saw President Xi of China and Vladimir Putin of Russia so publicly there on the world stage. Those images were seen all over the world. And to go back into that hearing room today, Congressman, General Milley said there's not much that we can do to stop China from becoming a nuclear power. Here was another big moment. Watch.
We are probably not going to be able to do anything to stop, slow down, disrupt, interdict, or destroy the Chinese nuclear development program that they have projected out over the next 10 to 20 years. They're going to do that in accordance with their own plan, and there's very little leverage, I think, that we could do externally to prevent that from happening.
You agree with that, Congressman?
Well, twofold. One, this is why we have to modernize our nuclear arsenal, and we've had Democrats opposing that for years, and now is way past due the time to begin modernizing our ICBMs, our bombers, and our submarines. Point two, this is the absolute wrong time for any type of defense cuts. And again, it goes back to deterrence and what our adversaries believe. And I think this current world in chaos started with the debacle, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and it was gutting and heart-wrenching and disappointing today to hear this Secretary of Defense say, number one, he has no regrets, and number two, not a single military officer has been disciplined, relieved, removed, anything as a result of that. That led Russia to believe it could go on the march. China's using it in its propaganda. Iran's on the march towards a nuclear weapon, hitting our bases all over the Middle East because they believe America's weak, and it was evidenced by how we withdrew after 20 years of war.
We just yesterday had one of the Gold Star families, the parents of one of the young soldiers who died there at the Kabul airport. Just absolutely heartbreaking to this day, and still so many demanding answers in this moment. Congressman, appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, so honestly, not a good time to be cutting military budgets. I don't think they're going to at this point because of all the threats here at this point. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy did speak about it at one point when they were talking about military budgets. I actually showed the interview on our channel. I don't think they're going to be doing it at this point. I'll keep you up to date here on that. But yeah, we just have a lot of military threats here at this point. We have the three-headed dragon, Russia, North Korea, and China. And then we also have threats over there in the Middle East and Syria from Iran and just multiple different countries over there as well. So yeah, and it's just I come from a military family, not like a massive military family, but not like generations and generations. But my brother was in the army, and my grandfather was at Pearl Harbor 2 days before the attack hit. So yeah, I mean, I can totally understand defending our country now more than ever, and you really just gotta hope that we don't get into some type of major world war here, because honestly, we're not that far of something escalating into that type of a conflict. We see Putin trying to take over country after country after country. He already took over Crimea. He's trying to take over Ukraine. He's already leaked plans to take over Belarus and Moldova and possibly Georgia. So that's exactly how World War II started with with Hitler. I mean, honestly, they kind of go mouth in mouth, hand in hand, interchangeable there. That's what happened with Hitler taking over country after country after country, and the world had to step in, much like they're stepping in to try to prevent Putin from taking over Ukraine. And the world did not do that with Crimea, but the world has stepped in now with Ukraine, a much larger country. And you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, but at what point is enough enough? So I'll keep you up to date here. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here on our YouTube channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos as well. Here's some videos you should watch next. The Fed is actually rolling out a digital currency this week. Did you know that? You can click here to watch that video. Or see what Putin and Russia just took over and the United Nations and the US is pretty pissed about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.